Good evening to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista, and welcome to our Tropical Weather Outlook video for today, Monday, June 23rd, 2025. On today's Tropical Weather video, we are now tracking the first invest of the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season. Invest 90L, which was formed yesterday when our area of interest in the Atlantic got tagged yesterday. And it looked like for a moment that it was going to develop and potentially become our first tropical system of the 2025 hurricane season. But as of this afternoon and evening, it is looking much less likely. In fact, probably an almost 0% chance that that will happen now. But nonetheless, we now have our first area of interest or investigation in the Atlantic for the 2025 hurricane season. So let's go over it on the National Hurricane Center homepage. Invest 90L as of 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time by the National Hurricane Center. Recent satellite data indicates that the low pressure system located more than 600 miles east-northeast of Bermuda is producing gale force winds. However, shower and thunderstorm activity remains disorganized. Environmental conditions are still marginally favorable for development, and an increase in thunderstorm activity could result in the formation of a short-lived tropical depression or tropical storm today or tonight. So pretty much this invest is already producing tropical storm force winds. And if this were to continue to organize, which it's not, it might have indeed become our first named storm of the hurricane season. But environmental conditions are rapidly deteriorating, and the National Hurricane Center has this at a 60% chance, which you're saying that environmental conditions are deteriorating, but the National Hurricane Center is giving this a slightly higher than a coin flip that this might develop. What gives? Well, this was actually down earlier from this morning and last night when the National Hurricane Center had this at a 70% chance, because conditions have slightly become worse. And of course, they say that by Tuesday, conditions are expected to become unfavorable, ending its opportunity for development. But I'll show you in the satellite imagery in just a moment, its opportunity has probably already ended. And regardless, this will move northeastward at around 10 to 15 miles per hour, and it'll remain over the open central Atlantic. Meaning it'll stay away from any land masses, so we won't have to worry about impacts to anybody other than the fish, which is kind of a joke because this will probably impact some shipping interests, which does have an impact on human life. But in terms of any major population centers or land masses, this is going to be a random spin up that will not impact anybody of any major area, which is obviously a good thing. And then really quickly in the Eastern Pacific, we have our area of interest here, which is probably going to develop sometime this week and become our next named system in the Eastern Pacific. So the Eastern Pacific will continue to remain active while the Atlantic will continue to remain quiet, even though it had its chance for development today and yesterday, and it looks like it is not panning out. And the reason why is just take a look at the current information or the current satellite loop of Invest 90L. Yeah, no, this is not the look of a developing tropical system, especially compared to yesterday when we had quite a bit of decent convection, especially last night. And that's when the National Hurricane Center pretty significantly upped their chances on 90L. But you can certainly see that this had a potential. I mean, just taking a look at the satellite loop, there is definitely a robust low-level center. And showing you the current information on tropical tidbits, let me actually show you 90L. The latest information right now on 90L, and I think the National Hurricane Center alluded to it in their tropical weather bulletin, but this actually does have gale force winds, meaning tropical storm force winds. So if this was a designated feature, it would have been a tropical storm. But obviously, this is definitely not the look of a tropical storm. This is a bare bone low level center. There's also lots of dry air because there's a lot of wind shear and that has effectively killed off any organization that did occur between yesterday and today. And just to once again show you that this does have a strong low-level center, and you can see that on the 850 millibar vorticity map. In fact, quite a potent and small low-level center, which is why the pressure is 1,014 millibars. So pressure-wise, this is a little weak, you would assume, but it is because it is small, it is compact, but it is pretty potent for a small and compact low-level center in the middle of the open Atlantic. But in terms of wind shear, you could see, especially in the northern Atlantic here, lots of very strong wind shear, and some weaker wind shear throughout the subtropics, and especially a lot of very, very strong wind shear throughout the deep tropics. And this is probably the thing that is killing this the most. This is the Weather Nerds imagery. Let me really quickly refresh it so we can get the latest map. Just a bunch of dry air. In fact, you can't even see the low-level center here. I think it's somewhere in here. But there's clearly lots of dry air, and that is just killing off any sort of moisture it had, and subsequently it is killing off any sort of convection it had, and because of that, it is probably not going to develop into a tropical system. So for now, the tally on the North Atlantic hurricane season remains that we've had 0 named storms, and obviously 0 hurricanes and 0 major hurricanes. And we are now down by 5 compared to the Pacific, which they're on their 5th storm, obviously, with Eric a few days ago. And as I just showed you by the National Hurricane Center, and as I've been talking about for the last several days, probably going to get a 6th one before the end of the month of June, and that'll officially make them the fastest start to a Pacific hurricane season on record. So we'll be 6 down from the Pacific, and we're even 2 down from the West Pacific, which also had another tropical storm develop there recently. But very interestingly enough, they're also below normal. The Eastern Pacific is the only place right now where the activity is above normal. In fact, they are carrying the entire globe, which is down by almost 2 full named storms on average. But maybe we'll see this change once the Atlantic starts to get into the picture in the coming weeks, which I'm pretty sure it will. But for now, it looks like we are tracking 90L, which had its chance to develop yesterday and maybe this morning. Failed to do so, but I promise you things will change in the coming weeks, especially as we get into late July and August and September. Things will definitely get a lot more active in the Atlantic, and we will definitely not see these failed invests, and we will actually see invests that will develop, unlike 90L. Trust me, believe me, that is coming, and it is going to come very quickly. And if you track past hurricane seasons, you know just how quickly things can change and get very active, especially once we get to August and September. So please remember that. With that being said, that's going to do it for today's Tropical Weather Outlook video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, especially if you are interested in weather content like this, because I upload videos every single day. So if you are interested in that, please definitely make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you can get videos the moment I upload them. And I hope you watch them, and I hope you enjoy it, and also share this video with friends and family and others that also might find tropical weather content interesting. With that being said, enjoy the rest of your evening, enjoy the rest of your day, stay safe, peace, love, and kindness to you all. I will talk to you again tomorrow.